This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guests today are Sam Zou, who is the founder and CEO at SubQuery and OnFinality. And also we're joined by James Bayly, who is the head of business development at SubQuery and OnFinality, I believe. So welcome to the show, James and Sam.
Oh, thanks, Andy, for having us here.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'm excited to meet you guys, excited to learn a little bit more about what you guys are up to. And I should also say that it's always good to talk to fellow crypto and blockchain teams here in New Zealand, which is where we all are. But of course, I think we should start. Let's just have a little bit of a background from you first, Sam, because I know you're the founder here. So maybe if you talk about, please introduce yourself. Love to hear just a little bit about your background and introduction to blockchain, and then we'll start to learn a little bit more about what SubQuery is.
You know, I was in the crypto space since 2017. You know, I was back to the time. Actually, I was in one blockchain company in New Zealand. We did our own ICO. You know, we raised more than 100 million USD back to 2017. So I was leading the blockchain development team back to the time. But one of the challenges, actually, I was when I leading the blockchain development team was it's really hard to manage the blockchain infrastructure. Right. So if you take a look at the Web 2 development, right, you can easily use AWS or Azure. You can using the cloud service provider to accelerate your development space. So, back to the time, it's really hard for for manage the blockchain infrastructure. So that's one of the big challenges I have back to the time when I leading the blockchain development team. So what I'm thinking back to the time, why not, develop a generic sort of like a solution and solve the problem ahead. Then, once I have that generic, platform solution, then probably can solve all the other blockchain development team problem, right? So that's the idea I had I founded OnFinality. So OnFinality basically is a provide, manage blockchain infrastructure services. So, just help, to the development team, or the app developers, so they only need to focus their business logic, so they don't have to manage and maintain their blockchain infrastructure. So that's why and where I founded OnFinality. That's back to roughly around somewhere in year 2018. So that's then because of the time when we doing our blockchain development, right, we looking the best like a sort of like a framework how we can develop blockchain, right? How we develop if you from the Web 2 development background, how easy these days to develop software. That's basically you can using all the existing framework, right? Like a lot of libraries available for you to develop software. But however, in the blockchain space, is a we don't see any existing framework back to the time. Then we start to investigate. Then we find out Substrate. So Substrate is the first ever sort of like a blockchain framework to give you the power to develop and to make your blockchain development life easier. So that's back to year 2018. We start to work with a very earlier stage with the Substrate. Substrate Substrate blockchain framework basically, developed by Parity. So Parity, the founder of Parity is Gavin Wood. Basically he is the co-founder of Ethereum as well. So back to the time, we engage with the Parity very closely, to work on the Substrate ecosystem or Substrate framework. So that's how we actually working closely with Substrate and the Polkadot and the Parity and the Web3 Foundation guys, right? So because we engage with them very early. So there's we basically working with other earlier projects in the Polkadot ecosystem, like other Akala and the Moonbeam guys. So basically, we really like OnFinality is really grow together, with the whole Polkadot ecosystem. So there's that's where I jump into this space.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. And so, as I understand it, SubQuery is, you mentioned Substrate there and Polkadot as well, I think. And as I understand it, SubQuery is very much focused on Polkadot as opposed to Ethereum or Solana or any other smart contract platform. So maybe James, we can bring you in here and talk about so again, just explain briefly what SubQuery is and why you're focused on Polkadot.
As Sam mentioned, we've been building OnFinality for some time, and while we're talking to all our customers from an infrastructure point of view, we kept hearing this desire for a data service provider, for a product that would allow them to better organize and manage the vast amount of data that they're producing on their test networks, but also on the Polkadot network itself. And that really was the catalyst for building SubQuery. SubQuery is a data indexer. What that means is it takes blockchain data. Blockchain data is it's like a linked list or a chain of blocks, obviously, and that format is really bad and really inefficient to query because you have to go through each block sequentially to look for something. If you want to show a list of all the transactions that you've made, Andy, I have to go through every single block in that chain, look for your address, and then at the end of the day, after going through a million or tens of millions of blocks, I finally know how many transactions you've made and where they were, which is obviously not going to work for the future of applications that need to be built to make blockchain as successful as it could be. So SubQuery is an open source tool. It is a scaffold, if you will, what we call an SDK, a software development kit, where anyone can quickly go in and they can say, connected to this particular Polkadot chain or parachain, look at every block or certain events. And then whenever those happen, run them through a little mapping function, a little bit of code, pick out these pieces of data, combine them with something else, maybe average them over time, and save them in a new format. And that new format will be a lot lighter. It'll be a lot more relevant to what you need. It will kind of cut out 90% of the fluff that you don't kind of need for your application and gives you a kind of a ready-made data source that you can then build an application on. So really, if you're building a wallet, if you're building an explorer, if you're building a website that does something, even an NFT marketplace, a web page to view a list of what NFTs and how they've been traded over time, you need a data indexing tool like SubQuery. And that's really all our customers. We work with a lot of them in Polkadot. And as we talk about Polkadot, right? Polkadot is one of these new generation 3 blockchains that are really coming through. You've had Bitcoin and then kind of migrated to Ethereum, and now there's a lot of these new blockchains, Solana, Cardano, and obviously Polkadot is one of them that are starting to emerge. And developers are flocking to these newer chains because of really low transaction fees, high performance, scalability. But also governance. You can kind of, they've designed these chains so that they can slowly change and be improved over time. It's rare in software that you won't update software for 10 years, and yet that's what happened with Bitcoin and Ethereum. We haven't really changed it that much, not substantially.
Yeah, that's right, and well, that's very well said, James. And you know, I heard you use the term parachains, which is kind of key, I think,
Yeah.
to the way that Polkadot works. So maybe just love to hear you explain what a parachain works. Sorry, what a parachain is, and how that helps Polkadot with the kind of the speed and efficiency advantages.
Yeah, I've been trying a few different ways to explain this. So I'll try a different one today and we'll see how it goes. But Polkadot itself is what we call a layer 0 chain. It doesn't really do much itself. It doesn't really provide you much freedoms. But what it does give you is a core foundation. It gives you a heartbeat, so a block time of 6 seconds. Every 6 seconds, a new block is made. It gives you a common language that you can talk. It gives you some basic governance so that people on the Polkadot chain can say that this should happen or not, and they can vote for a council. But yeah, it's very basic and foundational. What parachains are other blockchains which build on that Polkadot foundation. So the view and the vision of Polkadot is not just one big blockchain to rule them all. We've realized that one blockchain isn't going to be the utility blockchain that we all dreamed of. There are different blockchains for different reasons. The view of Polkadot is that you have one foundational blockchain which gives the common foundations, but then everyone builds their own kind of slightly different blockchain that is interoperable, and interoperable is a key word here. You'll hear it said a lot. The interoperability of all the Polkadot parachains. They can talk to each other. They run under the same kind of high-level rules. They can communicate quite easily. It's easy to move your money from one chain to another without going through a centralized exchange. And that's the secret of Polkadot. I like to think of it with Ethereum. Ethereum's like an apartment building. You have, the building itself, and then you have an Ethereum virtual machine, which allows you to run a smart contract. And you can liken that to saying that, you can do whatever you want inside your little apartment building. It's a tiny shoebox apartment. You can do what you want in there. You can run your smart contract in there. But you're still limited to the confines of this apartment block building. And then many others running all around you. So you might get annoyed by the noise from next door, or the high transaction fees to get through it. Polkadot's slightly different, and where it's like an empty subdivision. Imagine a huge, vast subdivision that we put the roads in, we put the utilities, the plumbing, the sewage, the power and electrical. And all we need to do is sell these big plots of land. And you can build an estate, you can build your zoo, you can build an apartment building, you can do whatever you want. So all these different blockchains are coming up in Polkadot, all trying to do slightly different things in their own way and custom built for that purpose. One might be an Ethereum compatible bridge chain, which Moonbeam, one of the biggest ones, is. They make it as easy as possible for people to bring Ethereum smart contracts into the Polkadot ecosystem and then take advantage of those really low transaction fees, the real high performance. Another ones are DeFi hubs, like some of our friends at Akala are doing. They're building a foundational kind of layer for DeFi primitives, so that you can build future DeFi products on it. And there are many, many more. Those are just 2 examples.
Yeah, nice. Very nice, James. Thank you. And well, Sam, as I understand it, so, you guys were founded maybe a little while ago, but you've had at least 1 or maybe 2 investment rounds. And it looks like you've got some reasonably high profile backers, such as Digital Currency Group and Arrington Capital, Sam?
SubQuery is still young, just a year old, to be honest. So, while we are working on the other project, OnFinality, from time to time, we always get, our partners request, because they need some data services. That's the time, we investigate in this space. So we spot, the SubQuery opportunities. So we kick off SubQuery project as late last year. Currently is about a year time, right? Then we kick off our seed round at the very beginning of this year. So we raised roughly around 1.8 million beginning of this year. Then we close our second round 2 months ago. So totally we raised roughly around 11 million USD. So, financially it's pretty good. So, we keep growing the team. At the very beginning of this year, we only got roughly around 10 people. Right now, we're almost triple size the team. We keep growing. It's really.
Very nice, very nice. And as I understand it, you guys you've got a token, right? So you want to tokenize your network for SubQuery and I guess move to a DAO-based model?
Yeah, that's, it's basically, SubQuery contains three, stage development. The first stage is really SDK. So SDK basically allow each blockchain development team basically to download the source code and then to set up the environment by themselves and also manage and then, they maintain the environment by themselves. So, but the big challenge is no development team, basically they want to waste time and the resources to maintain their own infrastructure. So they comes to our second stage development, which is hosted services. So we're hosting, the SubQuery like a services or infrastructure for our customer and the clients. So our hosted services has been completed a couple of months ago. So right now we have a couple hundred, SubQuery the project deploy into our hosted services. We're servicing almost like a 10 or 20 million requests each day to our customers, like the parallel finance or Akala or Moonbeam. So basically, then move to our third stage. Our third stage development is really developing SubQuery network. We call it, the decentralized, the whole infrastructure, right? So we're gonna, by saying that, developing SubQuery network, we're gonna have our own tokenomics. We're gonna do our own like a token generating events. It's likely gonna next year sometime. So we're gonna have a more like incentivize more service provider to participate in our ecosystem, right? To make the infrastructure decentralized. So that's the three stages of development. Right now we are on the third stage, which is developing busy developing SubQuery network.
Very nice, very nice, Sam. That all sounds very exciting. James, so you're head of business development. That's your title. So what does that mean? I guess you are kind of working with the different representatives from all these different projects on Polkadot and even like Akala. I know you guys work closely with the teams there. How does that work?
Yeah, it's an interesting title. Look, when you're in a startup, right, your title doesn't really reflect what you do, I guess. I come from a development background. I used to be a developer years ago, a lousy developer at that, but still a developer, which means I'm dangerous with code. And that's what we do at both OnFinality, but more SubQuery today. We do help developers. We do a lot of work and we provide tools that most developers in the ecosystem will use. So really my main job here is to figure out how we take a really amazing software and the tools that we've built and make them relevant and accessible and get them out there in the hands of as many good developers in the ecosystem as possible. As I said, right, there's a lot of developers flocking towards Polkadot and finding those and making sure that the first things that they hear about and the one thing that they start using straight away to save them hours or days worth of work is SubQuery and obviously OnFinality as well. So really it's kind of lead generation, finding out how to market to these guys, and then getting the tools in their hands and supporting them as they build their first project and then run it with us. We've done a lot of effort at the moment in growing developer community, because without developers, SubQuery doesn't really have a point. Unless there are people using it, we don't really have a point to exist. So we've done a lot of work and growing a community of developers, reaching out through hackathons. But that also starts with the tooling and the documentation we provide. We pride ourselves in providing really good documentation, examples, really easy source code so that you can just get started straight away. And then finally, we've just kicked off a academy. We're calling it the SubQuery Academy. It's and our first course is called the Hero course. It takes you from knowing nothing to having a really a pretty fully featured SubQuery project over this course of 6 lessons or so. And one thing that we've kind of realized at SubQuery is our community has just exploded in growth in the past quarter or so. And we always put these things out where we're slightly unprepared for the amount of interest that we're going to get. So we've had almost 2,000 enrollments to our Hero course already, and it's only been up for about 2 or 3 weeks, which is just kind of phenomenal when we're talking about the interest of people around the world into SubQuery. But all these are designed to ease the onboarding of developers into the ecosystem and to make it as easy as possible for them to start using SubQuery to save time, and then so they can build the applications of the future that we're going to be using tomorrow.
Makes sense, James. If we go a bit wider, then zoom out, if you like. There's a lot of conversation at the moment around Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, of course, going great guns at the moment, particularly on Ethereum. Love to get your guys' perspectives on the build out of Web3 and how you see this all playing out. I know that's a very big topic, but yeah, approach it however you like. Sam, you want to go first?
All right. So basically, we fully believe, the decentralization, right? So, so we see the future, regardless, it's a metaverse or NFT or whatever it is. Definitely what we build is really like a SubQuery is really core infrastructure for Web3. Regardless of whatever the chain, they need the data. They need to provide a better, data infrastructure, right? That's where we jump in, this, for SubQuery, right? So, yeah, also, I think it's gonna take at least a couple of years time, to really see, the value of decentralization. But however, we slightly towards to their goal.
It's interesting
James?
that the NFT, as you say, NFTs are like the first entry point into this metaverse that Facebook is now on board.
Yeah.
Or what was called Facebook back in the day. We're going to laugh to our kids one day and say, I remember the day back when that was called Facebook, not Meta.
Yeah, it was called the Facebook at the beginning.
Facebook. Yeah, NFTs are absolutely exploding, and I really look forward to the day when NFTs are actually kind of when we see NFTs that are less art based and more utility based. So like a perfect example of NFT when I first heard of NFTs was airline tickets, right? Like you own your airline ticket, you own that seat on that plane for one flight, and you should be able to trade and hold ownership over that, because really Web3 is all about ownership. It's about transferring ownership from some big internet provider to the individuals like you and I, Andy. So I'm looking for the day when NFTs are kind of used in that asset a sense, but essentially they are the gateway into this metaverse that we're looking at. And there's a huge amount of we have quite a few customers that are doing a lot around NFTs, and even in particular metaverses. There's another team called BitCountry here in New Zealand that's doing some work there that we're working closely with, and we're seeing a lot of interest. So it's definitely something that's really on the top of a lot of people's mind. One thing that, from our New Zealand vantage here, we don't see this as much, but overseas it's huge. People really getting involved with NFTs and the metaverse overseas. And so there's a big shift going towards there. And we're keeping a very close eye on it and making sure that we're helping our customers with that transition. We're helping them achieve that vision that they have by providing these core services that they need.
Awesome. Well, let's go to a very quick break, gentlemen, and then we'll come back and we'll finish off with the very famous Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round.
In today's crypto market, the team at Brave New Coin are the sector's leading builders of custom crypto indices. BNC's powerful indexing engine draws on Brave New Coin's premium data to calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. BNC's custom indices help you to gain exposure to the crypto assets class and track your performance against the market without having to become a stock picker. Not sure what you need? A Brave New Coin consultant can help you assess your requirements. Contact BNC today to find out more.
All right, we're back, and I'm with Sam and James, who are part of the team, or leading the team at SubQuery, helping connect the infrastructure dots for blockchains, particularly at the moment, Polkadot. But gentlemen, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Sure thing, bring it on.
All right, so it's always fun with two guests on the show. So I think we'll just take it in turn. guys. Let's start with you, James. The first question is, James, where would you say you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-coin opportunist spectrum?
We're definitely on the multi-chain or multi-coin side of that spectrum. We think there's going to be many chains, and Bitcoin is a old value store, but it's not the future.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I would be surprised if you said anything different. All right, let's go to Sam. Sam, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
I think, this crypto definitely is the future, right? So because crypto basically is programming money. So it's gonna be a renovate the whole current banking system. So I firmly believe that the future is.
Yes, indeed. That's why we're all here. Okay, well, James, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, whatever you like here, but let's just say, I suppose, blockchain or Web3, the decentralized future, what does it look like in 10 years' time?
Yeah, great question. I think we're going to underestimate how much life, the traditional life will have changed, how many day-to-day applications that we'll use in 10 years' time we'll be using blockchain technology, but we'll be completely unaware of it. And I think that's going to be the big 10-year shift is hiding this blockchain technology under user interfaces that are intuitive and easy to understand, so my parents can get involved in them.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Just got to abstract away a lot of the complexity. And once we do that, man, mainstream adoption will just continue to accelerate. Bring it on. William Gibson, famous sci-fi author, he famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Sam, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
All right, it's really good question. So what we see right now is from a lot of our clients right now, it's really, they start to charging US stable coin. So make life so easier for us. Traditionally, right, when we send money overseas, right, it takes time in the banking system. But right now, just piece of cake, just a minute. Our customer or clients, whoever want the dollar is gonna receive straight away. It's also no one can cheat it, right? So that's something probably a lot of people now haven't realized yet, how easy and convenient it is.
I love it, Sam, and that's why we call it magic internet money. All right, it's time to zoom out, time to get weird. James, what do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
Well, I certainly hope it's going to be utopia, but things these days make it look a bit more dystopian. Hopefully we manage to solve inequality and we don't result in situations like many movies where we have a rich society living off Earth and the poor living here or staying here. I think blockchain and cryptocurrencies could be a great moderator in that. They're accessible by anyone, they're universal. They don't require you to live in a first world country to access and be a part of, right? Many of our customers come from strange parts of Asia and Africa that we never thought would be big, but blockchain is huge there for that reason.
For sure. All right, let's finish this off, gentlemen. We'll put the final question to you both. James, you can go first. Please tell us what is your favorite science fiction book, film, show, or universe?
I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I know it's so cliche being a New Zealander saying that they're a fan of Lord of the Rings, but I think once you go past the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit books, going into the rest of what Tolkien has written, there's a huge and really colorful world there that I really want more and more, I guess. So that's my favorite kind of science fiction. Not really science fiction, but kind of along that same vein. And
fantasy, sci-fi adjacent.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. I think that's the first time anyone's ever actually gone for Lord of the Rings. But yeah, as a New Zealander, I guess we all do have a special affinity for the Hobbits. But yeah, all right. Sam, what about you? Do you have a fave piece of sci-fi?
I'm a big fan of a matrix, so I'm not quite sure if it's really sci-fi or whatever you call it. But so I do believe in the future, right? So might be some mix with the virtual reality or whatever. So it's although it's a little bit scary, but however, I think it's inevitable, right?
Yeah,
the metaverse and the matrix, eh?
Yeah, well, the Matrix is, well, firstly, obviously just a brilliant piece of, probably pure sci-fi, but the Matrix is interesting, because it's in some ways it's a really good metaphor or analogy for kind of the human condition and the awakening and the metaverse, if you like, as well. But it's also the trans allegory, if you guys are familiar with that. It's just there's multiple layers to the Matrix, so it's kind of fascinating. And there's a new one coming out really soon.
There's a new one coming, I know. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Red pill or the blue pill. Bring it on.
It is interesting, I think if there's always this talks about the world being in kind of a matrix. Where are we a simulation?
Exactly.
Elon Musk kind of saying that we are, and in a way, I think Bitcoin is something that has been there for 2007 and hasn't really changed. It's still going, and Satoshi Nakamoto sitting on what is now billions of dollars worth of money and funds. If there's ever evidence that there's a matrix at play here, or there's some kind of external influence being put in, I think Bitcoin is the perfect one. That we haven't managed to track down this Satoshi character and identify them. It still just boggles the mind for me.
Yeah, Satoshi is it is one of the great riddles and puzzles of our time, and perhaps he or she or they really is kind of the wizard behind the curtain that has accelerated technological development. So it's just it's amazing that we're all alive and here in this kind of particular moment in history to witness the kind of the birth or the genesis block, if you like, and see how this evolves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. That was a great way to finish. Let's close this off. Nothing else to say really, except to hand the metaphorical microphone back to you both. Please close us out. Tell the people where they can go to find out more about what you guys are building with SubQuery and OnFinality. And if you want to shout out your Twitter profiles or anything like that, please do so. James, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So you can follow up with questions with us. We're most active on our Discord. If you go to our website, subquery.network, right at the bottom, you'll find links to all our social media accounts and continue the conversation with us there. I'm looking forward to talking to everyone. But thank you very much, Andy, for having us and for talking about this today.
Awesome. Sam, just take us away.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Andy, for having us here. So it's just like James said, we have Discord, Twitter, and Telegram. So send us a message. We will talk again.
Awesome. Thanks very much, gentlemen. All the best, and bye for now. All right, there you go. That was James and Sam from SubQuery. Hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. Enjoyed rambling again about the Matrix at the end there. Certainly am looking forward to that new Matrix film. Of course, the first one was a classic. 2 and 3, not so much. They were a bit heavy going at times. Don't know if it's always hard for people to kind of ever top the original. So definitely hoping that the new Matrix will be good, but probably you don't want to get your expectations too high. So anyway, we'll just have to sit back, wait and see, and enjoy the ride when it happens. But I think we will leave it there for today. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation so you know when each new episode drops. But that's it for today. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave a New Coin. See ya.